Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox and I'd like to welcome you to the Daily Compliance News. The Daily Compliance News is an offering of the Compliance Podcast Network. October 19, 2019, the Mother Said Don't Tell Lies edition. First up from the Financial Times, the SEC is considering direct listing models. The Securities and Exchange Commission is holding talks over allowing participants to raise primary capital directly, as it's held exploratory discussions alternatives to IPO offerings for companies that want to raise capital and be listed on public markets. Silicon Valley's investors and advisors are pushing for more companies to follow the Slack and Spotify lead and choose a direct listing in which the pre-existing shares are released to public investors without offering any new equity. Some supporters of direct listings are lobbying U.S. regulators to allow companies to raise capital when taking this route. It is certainly consistent with one of the SEC's mandates to have as many public companies as possible. Of course, that's tempered by the SEC wanting to protect investors as well. It is a method that has worked well. I've studied the Spotify and Slack releases or direct offerings, and they worked in those situations, but they're not for everyone. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, in a very disheartening article, it's on the theme of our theme today of Don't Tell Lies. A senior Boeing pilot told a colleague he unintentionally misled regulators on the 737 MAX. In a recording of a transcript of instant messages reviewed by the WSJ. In the exchange in 2006, Boeing's then chief technical pilot for the MAX and a colleague appeared to be discussing the plane maker's modification of the flight control system known as the MCAS so that it worked in low-speed situations with increased power. The message also appeared to touch on problems on the flight simulators. So the former chief technical pilot, Mark Faulkner, said, so, quote, I basically lied to the regulators unknowingly, end quote. His colleague said, no, it wasn't a lie. No one told us this was the case. The attorney for the then chief technical pilot said if you read the whole chat, it's obvious there was no lie and the simulator program was not operating properly. Based on what he was told, Mark thought the plane was safe and the simulator would be fixed. Whichever it is, it's certainly very, 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 very bad for Boeing. And now our lead story around why Mother was right. You should not tell lies. As the Senate is considering legislation to put tech executives who lie about privacy violations behind bars for 20 years. In a story in Business Insider, it says that a newly proposed Senate bill would give the FTC more power to crack down on tech companies found responsible for enabling privacy violations. The Mind Your Own Business Act is scheduled to be introduced next week, or rather this week, proposed harsher penalties than those currently in place. The senator who has introduced the bill says that Mark Zuckerberg won't take Americans' privacy seriously until he personally feels the consequences. He felt like the slap on the wrist from the FTC would not do the job, so he's going to face jail time. Pretty harsh language for the U.S. Senate. I would say it has a little chance of passing. Nevertheless, it does really speak to where people are thinking about data privacy in the tech companies right now. And then finally, our last article is about going to the woodshed as the judge overseeing the opioid case set for trial on Monday has ordered the CEOs of the three distributors who are considering contributing to the $50 billion fund to show up in court to explain why or why not this is going to get done. So they may be going to the woodshed. You never know. This is Tom Fox. I hope you have a great weekend from the Daily Compliance News.